Thank you. Right. We're going to talk today about from retail to e-tail to me-tail, which I think is a great line. It's not my line. I can't take credit for it. As Bob said, I was a jazz pianist in part-time. Long time ago when I studied music, they used to say, good composers borrow, great composers steal. So I stole that line from somewhere. But really what we're going to talk about is personalization. What does that mean in today's multi-channel world? So just a little bit about me. As Bob said, yes, I was born into a high street fashion retailing company. At the age of 12, I was selling handbags over my father's shop in Oxford Street. A little bit after that, when I graduated, with my brother, we built a 12-store chain of footwear and fashion outdoor stores. As Bob said, I got used to doing everything that you do in a small business, from running the warehouse to setting up the IT and all aspects of the business. And then I launched my first transactional website in '98. So I've been doing that for quite a long time, for about 16 years. And as an independent consultant through the 2000s, I helped launch the online businesses for River Island, for New Look, for Oasis, the whole Aurora group, and for Burberry, lots of others as well, and not just fashion, lots of different types of operations. So got quite a bit of experience in e-commerce and in integrating e-commerce with the rest of the retail business. And 5 years ago, I co-founded Practicology. I'm the deputy CEO. So what is Practicology? It is a multi-channel commerce consultancy. We now have about 37 consultants with offices in London, in Soho, just off Oxford Street, and also in Sydney and Melbourne in Australia. We have about a dozen people in Australia. And we've been serving clients really around the world since then, including clients here in Ireland. Just another slide or two about Practicology. Where we see ourselves as a bit different from other consultancies is that we've all been there, we've done it. We're practitioners. We only hire people with real hard-won experience. There are a lot of good consultancies out there who go to the top universities and hire the brightest people from the top universities. Fantastic. We would never do that because however bright you are, if you haven't got the experience, if you haven't actually made the mistakes by doing it yourself and learning it, you're not really a practicologist. So we're all practitioners, and we think that makes us a little bit different. What do? We do quite a lot of different things, but they're all related to multi-channel experience. So we do strategy development, technology selection, which I tend to lead. We do quite a lot. I think we are probably the busiest technology platform selection and audit and review in the UK. And we are completely platform agnostic and independent. So one of the things is we don't actually sell or develop any of the things. So we've got no connections or associations with any one platform or other. Organization design, and I'll touch a little bit of that later in the presentation, and lots of other things that you would expect from agencies. One thing we do a little bit different is trading services. So again, I said we're retailers, and we actually trade sites for people. So we have a trading team that is effectively an outsourced e-commerce department for companies. For whatever reason, they can't quite get the right team together, or they need to upskill their team. We do training and mentoring, and so a whole host of different things. And the final slide on that, this is just some of the clients that we work for. You'll see there's quite a spread from big brands and manufacturers to retailers, smaller companies, UK, international, around the world. So quite a spread that we do. Right, so today what are we going to talk about? Evolution of retail, where we have been and where we are now. What is personalization? Personalization is a word that's used so often in lots of different contexts, and a lot of times people mean slightly different things by it. So we'll try and get a handle on what it means for us and why we think it should be relevant for you. And we'll try and, as I say, make this practical. We'll give some examples of what we think are some best practice of people actually deploying personalization in their businesses. And some insight as to why not everyone is doing it. You probably know the answers, whether you've tried it yourself, you are doing it or not. There are difficulties. It's not so easy, but we'll touch on that a bit. And we'll finish up with just some examples of really where we see things happening in the multi-channel customer journey and where we think that's going. And hopefully there'll be time at the end for some Q&A. Okay, retail to e-tail to me-tail. It's a nice picture. I think it was taken about 1919 of an early Waitrose store. And what's interesting to me about this picture, it's not just a picture of the store. The key thing, front and center, is the staff. And what that says to me is customer service. this is about the whole proposition there, and the point of that photo is the business is built on its customer service. Quite a long time ago, when I started out as a consultant, I used to give occasional talks on personalization way back then in the early 2000s. I used to tell a little story about a medieval cheese shop, which sounds a bit ridiculous, but I think it really does illustrate what, for us, is the core ambition of personalization and personal service. And I think it's quite relevant still to to think about that, and then as we look at all the modern technologies, how that can bring it together. So it's a very simple little story. Imagine a little medieval village somewhere in the woods near a river or something. Imagine it as nicely as you like, and you've got a lovely little cheese shop there. And every Tuesday, a particular customer comes in and he buys his favorite cheese. Week in, week out, knows what he likes, he comes in and gets it. One Tuesday, the customer doesn't arrive. And the cheesemaker has got a lovely fresh round of his customer's favorite cheese, and other customers are coming in, and as the day goes on, bit by bit, that round is getting smaller and smaller, customers are buying it, and he's scratching his head thinking, where's this customer? And finally, as the day's getting on, he takes a piece of the cheese, wraps it up, puts it under the counter, and saves it for that customer. The next day, the customer comes in, he's got his story, I'm sorry, my cartwheel got stuck in the mud near the river, I couldn't get out, comes in. The cheesemaker pulls out the piece of cheese, well, I know your favorite cheese came in, I know you loved it, I saved it for you, here it is. How good is that customer going to feel? He's going to feel loved, understood, valued by that shopkeeper. He's never going to go to another cheese shop. Now, there probably isn't another cheese shop around, but it's not really the point. He's met a customer for life. By the way, the power of SEO and Google, even back then, I put that story up on a blog. I mean, I'm talking about 2003. You'd be amazed at the number of inquiries I got for people looking for traditionally made medieval cheese, which I couldn't supply, but there was a gap in the market there. Anyway, personal service, really important to retail throughout its history. Then we get to catalogs. As we know, catalogs have been a huge business, transformed a lot of the way the trade was done. And what's really the difference here is convenience. That's the added ingredient into this channel. You can sit on your sofa, you've got a cup of tea in hand, you're browsing through the catalogue. When you find something you like, you pick up the phone. It's easy, it's convenient. So that transformed a lot of businesses and a lot of the way people shopped. And then sometime around 2000, the internet really started to take off. And this is one of Waitrose's, we'll stick with Waitrose for the moment, one of their early sites. And in a way, it's easy to look at that and sort of smile a bit at, in a way, some of the naivety of the simplicity of that design. But, it's easy to forget how transformative this was. This was really groundbreaking stuff, obviously not just by Waitrose, but this whole thing of trading online really moved things forward. And yet there's nothing particularly personalized about this. I mean, it was an achievement enough just to get this up there. And if we look at where we are now, or a recent Waitrose site, well, of course, the sophistication completely shouts at you, the graphical, the way now with CSS and other technologies, you can really speak to the customer, lots more calls to actions. There's actually a lot more information there, and yet it's more absorbable. It's easier to digest, and lots of scope for personalization. Just looking at this page, we don't know whether is that voucher just for me, or is that for everyone to just come to this page. It could be, a lot of these aspects of that page could be personalized. So, stepping back again, we've got our village store, retail moved on to the high street, the growth of superstores. I know you all know this. E-commerce began 15 years ago, well, more than that really, but really started to make its impact then. Retailers then had to fight back with the competition of online. We get retail stores moving more experiential, showrooming more about theatre, social engagement, really trying to get customers back. But of course, nothing stands still, and e-commerce has moved forward. And now we've got what some people are calling Web 3.0, the personal web. And one of the things I think I want to talk about today is that for us at Practicology, Web 3.0 isn't just about the online channel. It's actually the personalization needs to cover the whole business. But let's try and then define this personalization, which, as I said, a lot of people seem to means different things to people. One thing it's not is just an email newsletter that says, "Hi, Mark," and the rest of it is just the standard thing that you send to everyone, bulk mail. And it's not, welcome back, Mark, on the website. That's not personalized. It's not even Coke putting my name on a bottle. That's very kind of them. It's a very sweet little marketing thing, but it's not about me. Right? The world is full of Marks. And it's not even Starbucks. I'm putting my name on my cup of coffee, and at least they spelt it right, which is nice for Starbucks, but that's not really what we're talking about. What we mean by personalization is the right product targeted to the right person at the right time and through the right channel. It's really about relevance. And in fact, it's not even necessarily just about the product. It's the content, it's the offer, it's whatever message you're trying to get across. It's making that message relevant to the customer that you're talking to. But as I say, it's not just about the digital channels. The most perfectly pinpoint, relevant, sophisticated algorithm offering me the exact product I'm interested in is fantastic. And that might pop up on the website, that might encourage me to buy, which is obviously what we want from it. But if that's followed by a really poor delivery proposition, or a call to customer service who don't know what my problem is, what's going on, you're going to pull the rug completely from that sense of personal service that I started to pick up from the website. So, some examples of being more customer-centric around the whole organization. Argos in the UK, they take all the customer reviews of products on the website and they feed them back into the buying and merchandising department, so that the whole future purchases of the company are based on customers' actual feedback on what is a good product, what isn't a good product. Debenhams in the UK, rather than having a sort of conflict between online and offline, all online sales are accredited to the store with the nearest postcode to the delivery point. So the customer comes in to the store for a click and collect order. The staff don't resent that at all. They're going to get the commission from that either way. And that just helps to spread the feeling of a consistent multi-channel experience across the whole business. And you've got to see that all the way through. But really what we're talking about in terms of understanding what is relevant to a particular customer is this infamous or famous, depending on how you look at it, single customer view, which is potentially quite hard to achieve. And what's it based on? Well, you have in your organization, I'm sure even now, a lot of information about your customers. It may not be all brought together in one place, it may not be deduped, it may not be linked up, and that's part of the challenge we'll talk about. But, one of the first things you know about an existing customer, certainly, that you should know about them, is the past behavior. You've got some transaction history. The things they've bought, the categories they've bought from, the price points, the time intervals, the time of day and of the year. That is really useful information to help you enrich your understanding of the customer and what they might be interested in next. You've got their preferences, things they might have told you about themselves, whether it's their gender, whether it's their contact preferences. I prefer to be contacted by email or by telephone or post or whatever it is. If it's an international site, maybe the language I want to be communicated in. Lots of things I might have told you in your preferences. Demographics. As a company, you may have gone out externally and got statistics around the type of home they live in and the family they are, and lots of other demographics that are available. And increasingly, we're able to start to pick up real-time behavior. The fact that I spent the last 5 minutes on your site looking at a particular product area. I may have suddenly come away from that, browsed onto something else, but you should have picked that up and know, well, this person seems to be interested in those products. If you pull that all together, you're starting to get a really rich view of the customer. But that sounds like a lot of work. Why should we bother to do that? We've had a single message that's gone out to our customers that seems to have worked so far. Well, the stats really seem to back up that personalization works. Companies that are doing it well are seeing big increases in conversion. So we've got stats here that on average, companies are getting growths of about 19% in their sales once they implement it. There's an example there in traffic, not just in sales and traffic, but increasing 64% by relevant content. You really can engage your customers there. It increases the chances of customer purchases and loyalty, and as I said there, it increases customer engagement. There is a win to be had if you can get it right. And yet, apparently again, there are stats that say about 74-75% of marketeers know that personalization is really valuable and useful, and yet we've got nearly 40% of respondents to this survey who are saying they're not doing any sort of personalization within their business at all. And why would that be? Well, as I sort of hinted at, the reason is it's not easy. It's quite hard to do. So what are some of the challenges? Even something as simple as getting a consistent branding across all aspects of the business, not just from the website, all the way through to the delivery notes coming out of the warehouse. It can be a surprising challenge for different reasons within certain companies. You do get, in lots of businesses, data and organizational silos. Do the buying department really know what customers are expressing interest in the statistics of the website? You've probably got a separate e-commerce department who know their Google stats back to front, inside out, fantastic. But is that information really shared and understood throughout the rest of the business? There's all sorts of examples I can give about that. As I say, organization change and restructuring is required. And that can be a challenge for a lot of people. And of course, a lot of this is around data. It centers around data. And there are companies who aren't collecting the data in the first place, or they're collecting it but not in the right way, and they're getting bad data. There's all sorts of ways of bad data. One of the first big CRM projects I did quite a long time ago was for a major high street fashion retailer in the UK. At that point, they had about 500,000 customers on their database, and they were scratching their heads saying, we're not really making much use of that. When I did an audit of the data, I found that in about a third of the records, half of the postcode field had bled into half of the telephone number field. So somewhere in the importation of data, something had gone out of line, and they hadn't even realized that. So data quality and hygiene is an issue. And sometimes companies have so much data, and they don't quite know what to do with it. They don't know which tools to use, how to make sense of it. You might know within your role in the organization that personalization is something that's a win and you should really do. But trying to convince everyone else in the business, particularly the managing boards and the people holding the budgets, isn't always that easy. It's not quite clear to put a business case together exactly what the ROI is going to be before you've started. So that's a challenge. You might not have the resources, or you can see all the obvious ones. IT roadblocks is an often stated issue, and it often is a real one. At the core of your business, you might still have a real legacy system that is fundamentally running the business, but is really hard to get data in and out of, and that's a roadblock. So, and we shouldn't forget privacy laws there as the last one. It's becoming ever more complex environment. And as we're looking to bring all this customer data together, this famous single customer view, the risks of that getting out, being stolen, being misused by people in the company is a real risk, and that adds complexity. So it's not easy. And yet there are plenty of companies that are making use of this and making use of this now and are solving those challenges. So let's have a look at some of the best practice examples that we see. Well, we're talking about personalization on a website. The father of them all, or the one that's most famous, is Amazon, and they're still arguably the leader in certain ways. They've continued to develop and refine their algorithms. It's not just about product recommendations now. It's various different content on the page. It's in certain scenarios, the whole layout of the page might change depending on what they know about you. So Amazon, yes, still a bellwether for this. But you don't have to be an Amazon to do it. Here's a coffee shop, Caribou Coffee, who change the products and the products they offer to you based on what they know about you. If they've got a profile about you and transaction history, that feeds into it even more. But even if not, you don't actually have to have given them any information. They will pick up from your browsing behavior the types of coffee you're interested in, and then will respond with others of a similar type that you might be interested in. Here's Selfridges. It's quite interesting that sometimes we overcomplicate. We forget some of the simple, obvious answers. So Selfridges, if you sign up to their newsletter, they take you to a page and they ask you, what are you interested in? Are you interested in women's wear, men's wear, food and wine, these various things? They're not trying to sort of guess it and predict it from some behavioral activity that you did. Ask customers. Key point about that, though, if you go to the trouble of asking customers what they're interested in, and the customer goes to the trouble of letting you know, you really want to make sure that when you communicate with them, you are responding to what they've told you, and not just blasting them with a generic email, even though they've said they're not interested in it. Reactivation. Detecting customers that might be about to fall off and lose interest with you. So Puma in India took some CRM tools, analyzed customers in terms of their transactions and their interactions, tried to predict which ones were likely to kind of be moving away from interest in the brand. And they sent them personalized vouchers by email or text, depending on the customer's preferences. And when they did this, they had an 80% better retention rate than with the normal bulk retention and reactivation emails that they sent out. So that's quite a staggering improvement for getting personalized information in front of your customers. ModCloth is a company in America, tries to bring that personal engagement from the customer a step further. They put up samples of products and invite users to vote on them. Should we put this into production or not? And where customers have voted for something for a production, it's a bit of a self-fulfilling sort of activity, but they get about 2.5 times better sales on those products than where customers haven't. And again, the customer feels a level of engagement, a personal involvement with the brand. AO.com, a great company, boring old white goods. Who would have thought about it? They've transformed white goods into quite a buzzy, exciting market. And the CEO takes 40 minutes every day to personally sign customer letters. A little bit going back to my medieval cheese shop, it's about trying to let the customer know you're important to us, we understand you as an individual. It's not just we're a machine for churning out orders, however slick we can do that. There is a personal connection with the customers. One of the challenges that customers or clients of ours often talk to us about is, well, if we're going to do this, do we need a loyalty scheme? Do we need a membership program? Should we print cards? How are we going to do all this to capture the information? Walmart's have come up with something much simpler, much lower barrier to entry. At the till point, when you pay with your credit card and you type in your PIN number on the PIN pad, they will ask you to put in your mobile number into the PIN pad. And just by doing that, they will send you the receipt as an SMS message to your phone. But of course, they've got a hook for you. They've got a hook on your phone number. You get a record of your receipt, but they now know what you're interested in. They can market to that phone number based on just the contents of that one receipt. And of course, if you come back, if you do that again and identify yourself again, they've picked that up without the need of membership cards, loyalty points, or all the rest of it. So there are lots of innovative ways of trying to lower the barriers to this. Sears, the Get Advice service. This is quite interesting. Up to a point, it's a fairly standard question and answer service. So typically, you would get on a support desk where you type in a question, it searches the database. If there are existing answers, it offers them, and if you can't find a suitable answer, it submits it. So far, so standard for a support desk. But what it does after this is it sends that question out to over 400 stores with all staff with handhelds and tablets. And everyone in the organization has the opportunity to answer that question. So you can imagine a customer who has got a problem, types in a question on the community site, and I don't know when, 15 minutes, half an hour later, John in the Sears store in South Detroit writes back and says, oh yeah, I had a customer that had this issue, this is how we solved it. I think you're going to be a bit surprised at that and thinking, wow, that's pretty cool. Again, this company sort of understands me, cares about me. You're going to feel pretty good about the brand. Shoe has this live personal assistant. Now, live chat's been around for quite a long time. It's still very useful. It's fairly well understood. Shoe are trying to take it to the next level. It's not just a chat window with an anonymous person. It's a video link to your personal assistant. It's open 7 days a week, really trying to help you. It's almost as if you're in the store, how they would help you. And again, it's getting that level of personal service. So personalization for us and personal service are very closely aligned. Kiddie Care is really trying to move this forward. So they are personalizing, amongst other things, on location. So if you come onto the website and you're near a store, they will promote banners that say, come to the store for free collection. If you're not near a store, they will talk about free delivery over a certain price point. They're doing another aspect of that as well, which is if you're in a city location, they will promote products that are particularly good on city pavements. If you're in the countryside, they'll give you much more rugged, thicker tired products. And they're getting good effect with that. Burton's is starting to use weather feeds into people's location data and affecting the products that they're offering. So if it's raining, they'll put a raincoat up. It's a fairly obvious one, but they are really trying to learn from this and get much more relevant to what's happening with the customer right here and now. But as we've touched on all the way through, from our point of view, being customer-centric needs to go much more than just personalization tools on the website. It's about being as convenient as possible. We saw that back with the introduction of catalogs. Convenience is still an absolutely critical level. So again, we've got Shoe again, who have 11 different delivery options. It's possibly overkill. You could argue it's confusing to the customer. But what they're trying to do is get as close to the customer needs as possible. Lots of these, 90-minute delivery, choose your time slot, collect plus from hundreds of different locations. Again, trying to be as relevant and as helpful as possible to an individual customer and their needs. ASOS a little while ago launched Follow My Parcel. You can see exactly where the delivery driver is. You get a 15-minute window. It updates constantly. And even at the last minute, you can change it and ask for it to be delivered to a neighbor. I've used this service myself, and once you've used it, it is absolutely fantastic. If you're waiting to go out and waiting for a delivery to come in before you leave the house, it's a fantastic thing, and you start to think very quickly, that sets the benchmark. Why is not every retailer in the world using a service that can give me that level of accuracy on delivery? Asda in the UK, again, another option. They are delivering to a certain number of tube stations in London, and therefore the customer on their way home doesn't even potentially have to walk a few moments out of their route to home to go to a store. You order it by 12 o'clock, and at 4 o'clock it'll be delivered to the tube station. You pick it up exactly as you come out and head home. And of course, I'm sure we're all familiar with the growth in lockers. Lots of retailers are experimenting with it, and they are growing up further. That was Waitrose there, Amazon, and there are more. John Lewis put click and commute boxes in St. Pancras. Another sort of level on delivery, House of Fraser, pre-9 a.m. deliveries for orders placed by 8 p.m. the previous evening, 6 days a week. Quite incredible, but again, trying to get closer and closer to serve the customer in a personal way. Amazon is now doing 1-hour delivery in New York for certain products. It's also about engaging the customer. So we mentioned AO.com before. I say their engagement interaction with customers is really one of the best. They're getting over 150,000 views on YouTube every week. Customers are putting up videos of them singing and dancing around their washing machine or their cooker, making fun of it. I mean, it's great what they've managed to do with it. Facebook, they've got over 1.6 million now likes on Facebook. A lot of people have kind of said over the past couple of years, Facebook likes, but what does that really mean? Well, I don't know, but it is an indication of the level of engagement that they're getting from their customers. Convenience, again, really high. Returns should be free and easy. So Bergdorf Goodman, obviously in the States, really clear on their website, free shipping and free returns every day. Strong message, really clear in front of the customer. It's not so much personalization, but it's personal service. And again, for us, the two, you can't really separate the two. Shoes of Prey, 365-day return policy. They're not the only one that has that. Increasingly, this is growing. That's potentially quite scary as a retailer. But if you're a customer and you've got a hesitation about buying something, oh God, well, will the return be easy? Will I be able to make my mind up in time? And if I'm busy in the next couple of weeks, will I know about it before I have the cut-off, whatever? 365 days, you're not really going to worry about it. You're more inclined to order it. Letting customers shop on the go. Again, letting customers shop the way they want. Of course, the funny thing about this picture, there's one person who's not looking at their phone. Everyone else is down there looking at their phone, and is that where your customer's attention is, then obviously your website should be working mobily, on a mobile sense. Surprising and delighting customers. We shouldn't forget about things like this. So if you check in at a Doubletree hotel, they give you a warm chocolate cookie when you check in. You're probably not expecting it, but it's a nice little bonus, and you end up thinking, yeah, this is quite a nice experience. And I think it really does help you to think, well, I'll stay at a Doubletree next time again. I'll get another chocolate cookie. So in summary, we see the rules of personalization from our point of view, the golden rules. So actually, one is don't over-personalize. Don't try and think you've got to personalize every aspect of every bit of touch point with the customer. It can actually be overkill. Transparency and control. Let the customers, if you're going to ask them for information, actually the next point, if you ask them for information, make sure you use that so that, if they're investing their time with you, you're responding to it. Don't over-personalize everything. Just because I bought a raincoat from you last week, if I come back to your site, I'm probably not interested in raincoats again. I've got my raincoat now. Try something else, but it might be something else that's related to it. I've seen that sort of happen. You bought something and then you're just completely hit constantly with the same product. And really crucially, ensure that the end-to-end customer experience isn't left behind. So personalizing one part of it isn't the whole story. The whole experience has to be a personal experience to make the customer feel valued. And that's what I wanted to say. Do we have any questions?
We haven't had very many questions today. I think everyone's pinning people down on the one-to-ones.